Hey guys, for this guide I'll be teaching you on how to clear simulated universe from disasters the fastest way. I won't be going through everything about this game mode, but I'll go through all the main key points as I don't want to drag the video. So try not to skip parts of the video as everything mentioned will save you days of gameplay. Okay, important on what not to do. First, you don't want to rush this game mode as it's the hardest content. It's even harder than MOC 10 and this mode takes up a huge amount of time. Most players will be able to clear difficulty 3. From difficulty 4 onwards is where most players will be stuck on and may need a 5-star sustain or even double sustain. So take your time as this mode is permanent and this mode will give you headaches. So don't force yourself if you can't clear it. You literally want to quit if you're not having fun. Second, which is pretty obvious, is that you want to do difficulty 1 first after clearing it, then difficulty 2 and lastly 3. Don't make the same mistakes as I did by thinking difficulty 1 and 2 had been auto cleared from the tutorial. Also, don't brute force difficulty 3 as 90% of players can't brute force it without clearing difficulty 1 and 2. Third, it's not reading and understanding how the game mode works. If you don't understand the game mode, you're going to take up to 10 times longer. Important on what to do. The first tip is you want to speedrun building up your ability tree first over clearing the game mode. By doing the Throw of Past Rider missions, I'll just call it missions as it's easier. If you don't build your ability tree up, you're going to waste days as you can't clear the stages. So on how to clear efficiently, you want to farm difficulty 1 till you have completed all the ability tree missions for difficulty 1. After that, you can clear the difficulty 1 mode and start farming on difficulty 2 mode again. And repeat the cycle. And you can also check the progress in the game over here. For your missions, I highly recommend to immediately end the game mode once you have completed your mission, instead of proceeding to finishing the game mode unless you can still progress with the next mission without restarting all over again. Also, it's best to complete both missions at the same time, but preferably start on the left side first as the left side takes up longer time compared to the right side. The second tip is whenever you finish the boss fights for the plane, example plane 1, there will be 2 options for you to select from. Select the path which has the logo of the path to get your ability tree up by 1 tier. For example, I selected Abundance Path, so my Abundance Path from tier 1 goes to tier 2, etc. Do note that you can only get a certain amount of tier up from your skill tree this way. They will prompt you have walked long enough for this path. After that, you have to do missions to get your ability tree up for the loans. The third tip is taking the right path for your missions. The best path for speedrunning missions is the hunt path. You can farm for all your ability trees with any path, so for that I recommend the hunt path, as you can literally skip tiles and do missions way faster. Also, the hunt path is universal for almost all team comp, except for nihility characters. Even if you're using nihility characters, just take the hunt path to clear missions first. After that, when you're done farming all the ability tree missions on your current difficulty, then go back to the nihility path to clear the boss, or just use a different team comp first, etc. The fourth tip is you want to focus on hitting tier 7 for your ability tree on all the paths where you get the main buff to speed things up way faster. You want to prioritize a few specific paths first, no matter what, as these paths will help you complete your missions way faster for your ability tree. First path is to focus on Rare Embrace, as you can cheat so you can complete missions way faster with the hunt path especially. Second is Abundance, where on tier 7 it can increase your cooldown by 2 points, so your cooldown doesn't go red when it's time to fight the last boss. Third, we have Elation for 1 extra reroll on a plane and Preservation for extra 100 cosmic fragments at the start of the run. After this, you can focus on whatever path you need for your team comp, though I do recommend getting damage buffs over survivability. The fifth tip is not getting Interplay Path, which is highly recommended if you want to clear the whole stage. Do note that every path can only interplay with 2 specific paths. For example, with the hunt path, you can only interplay with Abundance and Elation, not with other paths. Though doesn't mean you have to get interplay all the time, but at difficulty 4 and onwards, you definitely want to always get both Interplay Paths ability or at least one. I'll just leave down below on all the paths which can be combined. So what does Interplay do? It basically gives you extra buffs. For example, Path of the Hunt, you can get 3 Blessings of Abundance to get extra 50% HP for all allies when the Hunt Path ability kills enemies, or with 3 Blessings of Elation where all allies speed increases by 25 for 2 turns. You only need 3 Blessings each from either path to get Interplay, and yes, you can stack both Interplay together. The sixth tip is not doing Swarm Disaster chapters. You have to collect all chapters for the new Path of Propagation to be unlocked. And this path is also one of the best paths, but not every team needs the new path, as you can clear totally fine with other paths too. Anyways, you also have to collect rewards from clearing chapters. On how to get chapters, every chapter will be different. For example, to get Abundance 2 chapter, you have to clear the third plane with tier 8 nodes Abundance or higher, or Elation 2 chapter by passing the second plane with 10 Elation nodes or higher. You can unlock multiple chapters as long as you meet the requirements. 7th tip is when you're clearing farming stages, you got to know where to go on the board. I'll just leave pictures down below. For example, for Blessing Trotter, you gain additional blessings, so you may want to focus on that. Or you got the hero for every 100 cosmic fragments, you gain 16% damage increase. Then you want to go for the mutation piece on the board for extra cosmic fragments, etc. The 8th tip is that you always want to defeat the minions first, no matter what, even if it means missing out some damage. Even if you have Imperator Lune, unless his damage is high enough to kill minions without focusing his main target on the minions. You want to kill all your minions in one turn, as for every minion they buff the boss, and there's one of the minion which can kamikaze your entire team, and even if you have double sustain, your team is just gonna die. Now onto a whole new different section on how to clear the 4th or 5th difficulty. First tip is to max out your skill tree at least 5 nodes to level 16. It makes things way easier, even though it might seem like it doesn't help much, but when it all stacks up together, it helps out a lot. If you're stuck on difficulty 4, maybe like 2 to 4 nodes at level 16 is more than enough. Second tip, blessings is key to clearing the whole game unless you have a meta team comp or a really good team comp synergy with a path which works really well. Even a fully 4-star team comp, if you can't clear it, no matter how hard you try, then you want a minimum of 40 blessings, the higher the better, and a minimum of 20 blessings on your main path. And dual interplay paths, basically triple paths, or if you have some really good heroes, you can drop the amount of blessings. If you don't have this much, you're likely going to fail this stage. And you want at least 4 specific harm blessing to guarantee a way easier clear or even auto clear on difficulty 5 for 99% of team comps. First is Auspicious Star. When a character defeats an enemy, they regenerate 60% energy. This is best if you can enhance it 100% energy instead. This is very important for almost all DPS characters, especially like Sealy, Imperator Lune, etc. Second is Imperishable Victory. When someone defeats an enemy, they gain another turn. Third is Celestial Annihilation. When the wearer applies Weakness Break, they gain another turn. This is best if you can enhance it too, and it will be all allies instead. Fourth is Ejecting the Borison, where after 6 turns, they gain another turn. You actually don't really need all 4 of the blessings, kind of depending on your team comp, but I do recommend at least 2 of the 4 harm blessings. Unless you're stuck, then you definitely do want all 4 harm blessings. And whatever is good for your team comp, I won't list them all. Also, do not skip out on some Preservation or Abundance blessing. Basically, if you see really good defensive blessing, just take it. You can even go for 10 defensive blessing if you need it. You just kind of have to gauge on how much you need. For heroes, I won't go too much into it, as you got to experiment, as everyone has different team comp. Some negative heroes are pretty good too, but I do recommend Robe of the Beauty or Cavity System model. You can even have like 5 to 10 lesser blessings with either heroes as long as you have sufficient cosmic fragments, maybe like 500 to 1k plus. The third tip is you want a double sustain team comp. Even better if you have at least 1 5-star sustain, and preferably you want at least one of your units for this spell. For example, personally for me, I have Silly, Silverwolf, Bronya, and Natasha on my team comp. I will need to change out my Silverwolf to Jeopard or Fushan, etc. The fourth tip is the right path and knowing how to play a path for your team comp, or maybe even swapping out a unit. Though I don't recommend building characters you dislike just for the sake of clearing this game mode. You just kind of have to experiment on it. For example, again, I'm using Silly, Bronya, Natasha, and Silverwolf, and I have to replace Silverwolf for Fire MC, since the last boss is already way to Quantum. Or if you struggle to clear plane 1 and 2 like me, I just use Silverwolf till the third plane and swap her out for Fire MC with the downloader. And if you have the same team comp as me, you definitely want the Destruction Path for this team comp, or actually almost all DPS team comp. Or just search YouTube with your main DPS. For example, Silly, Swarm Disaster, difficulty 5 clear. The best main paths are usually Destruction for survivability and DPS, Embrace for freeze, and Propagation. They are all around equal, just depending on your team comp. One may suit your team comp way better than the others. If you have not completed your nodes, it's recommended to go for defensive path, either Abundance or Preservation with my second tip again. Though there's one path I don't recommend at all, from difficulty 4 and onwards, is the Hunt path, as the Hunt path is pretty much useless. The fifth tip is to alternate F4 if messed up. And for my last and final tip, take your time and enjoy the game. Like seriously, don't force yourself to clear it. If you're not having fun, take a break or just pretend that this game mode didn't even exist in the first place. Sometimes the extra rewards aren't worth the hassle anyways, since after clearing difficulty 3 there aren't much rewards left. If you have any tips, do comment down below to share with everyone, and that's it for this guide.